Welcome back to part 2 of my Hazbin hotel redesigns. Last time I tackled Charlie, Vaggie, Lucifer, and Alistair. This time I'm focusing on the rest of the sinners in the main cast. A quick reminder, my goals for these redesigns are to address body diversity, color clarity, and cluttered designs, while trying to keep them as close to the original design as possible. With that, let's get into it. Starting with Husker, a former overlord. He is a grumpy and cynical alcoholic with a gambling addiction. He died in the 70s, and seems like he lived the longest out of our main cast, being born in the 1890s. Right off the bat, because he's an alcoholic, I'm of course going to make him heavier, while keeping him on the shorter side. Husk's design is already pretty busy, mostly because of his wings, and not really representative of the 70s at all. I am aware that Vizzy's sister designed him, and he's gone through a few changes before settling on the current design, and the reason for all the detail is to represent his ties with gambling. However, there are better ways to show this, like his use of weapons, in his clothes, or even show him struggling with his gambling impulses, because honestly, we don't really see that in the show. I think his design wouldn't be so difficult to read if he just didn't have wings, and resembled more of a black cat, since they're tied with bad luck. Of course, he still wouldn't look like he's from the 70s, but he would at least look less busy. I didn't really want to keep his wings, but I had to remind myself that I still want these characters to mostly resemble their original. So to compromise, I gave them less detail. I wanted Husk to look older, a soul full of experience, so I made the fur around his face resemble more of a beard and mustache. I gave him slicked back hair, and I also gave him bags and wrinkles at the corner of his eyes. I got rid of the long feathered eyebrows, replacing them with bushier heart-shaped ones, and I kept the cute little heart tufts at the ends of his ears. For his outfit, I took inspiration from a card dealer without the suit jacket, since he's portrayed to be sort of washed up. The collar being open, showing off his chest fluff. I kept the baggy pants and suspenders, giving them spades for the buckles, and all in the color scheme of the greed ring. I want the sinners to have a tie to their type of sins, so with greed, it's a lot of darker greens, somewhat bluish colors. Husk is one of my favorite characters next to Lucifer. He has the personality of someone who wants to be better but feels like it's too late. He is in hell after all, so he at least uses his experiences as a cautionary tale to others. Next we have Angel Dust. Brought up in the Mafia with a drug addiction, he died from an overdose in the 40s. In hell, he has become a famous adult film star, in an abusive relationship with Valentino, his boss. I'm not a fan of his outfit. He has a suit like most of the characters, but the stripes are horizontal. He has 2 sets of gloves that go past his biceps in different colors, and really just all of the colors used in his outfit blend together, which is a common problem in the show. I actually struggled getting an outfit for him. I wanted a mix of masculine and feminine clothing from the 40s while also trying to keep it revealing, so I went through a couple of passes, but not really liking any of them. Looking at a few different dress designs from the 40s, I came across one that has a sort of ribbed-like section in the front. I adjusted it to look like spider webbing and was finally satisfied. I exchanged the skirt in his original design to more of tight shorts to kind of give a bodysuit silhouette, and I changed out his tall boots for these smaller heels that were popular in the 40s. Angel is supposed to be based off of a jumping spider. His arms are apparently retractable to make animation easier. Angel's character silhouette resembles Poppy Playtime's Huggy Wuggy design. There are some memes floating around about that already, especially with his head shape. So to help with that, I rounded out his head and made his hair a tighter curl look inspired from the 40s. To make him better resemble a spider, I gave him mandibles. I gave him 2 prominent sets of eyes that you can see on jumping spiders, instead of just using pink dots under his eyes that more or less look like freckles. Keeping his fluffy chest, I also added a fluffy abdomen. Since he was in the Mafia and is a more fashionable character, I did give him a different outfit for when he's fighting, better resembling a Mafia suit while still having feminine charm to it. So for the color scheme in his clothes, I wanted to tie him to gluttony, his cause of death being a drug overdose, and I don't think he was as heavily involved in lust until he got into hell. To keep the warmer color palette of the corals and oranges, I used brown for darker parts of the outfit instead of just black. Angel is an interesting character, but the writing doesn't really go past surface level in my opinion. In episode 4, we're supposed to dive into his character, seeing how he uses drugs as a form of self-destruction, and hopes to ruin himself so Valentino gets bored with him. But as the story continues, his drug abuse is still taken pretty lightly, this episode being the only time we see him having these issues explored. Something that bothers me in this episode, by the way, is how Husk calls Angel out for his behavior, but he focuses on how fake Angel is and just brushes past the fact that Angel has been harassing him. And then Angel even has the gall to try and call Husk out for how he treated him. This episode could have been more meaningful if it was later in the show, because in all honesty, we don't get to see a lot of Angel's issues. Besides once, with that call from Valentino. It feels like they want to get past their issues and start that slow burn relationship with Husk and Angel as fast as possible. Really just makes me not as invested in their romance. They do show him being jealous about Sir Pinchas getting all the attention in the hotel, but that's really never addressed again. And I know 8 episodes aren't enough to explore these side stories in depth, so instead of trying to have all these different side conflicts and B-plots, I think it would have been better if they just focused on the main issue of the show and Angel's character development into becoming a soul worthy of redemption. Next up is Nifty, the hotel maid who is a bit of a wild card. Where Alistair is more calm and calculated, Nifty is impulsive and hyperactive. She finds joy in exterminating bugs and is seen to be a bit obsessed with cleaning. There is not a lot of exploration for Nifty, making me more interested in her background than any of the others. She's really only used for comic relief so far in the show. For Nifty, I changed her quite a bit. She died in the 50s at 22. Her clothes do resemble the 50s with the poodle skirt. Because of her obsessive cleaning and her age, I wanted her to resemble more of a housewife. And since I'm sticking with the idea that all sinners turn into animals, I pushed Nifty's bug characteristics, making her resemble a cockroach, while still keeping her a cyclops since that is her most recognizable feature. And I made her color scheme tied to wrath, since she has violent tendencies, whether it's harming herself or others. At first I was happy with the design, but the more I looked at her, the more she reminded me of someone.
Hi, Mrs. Neutron.
Changing the hair, funny enough, I kind of went back to her original hairstyle, just adjusting it to look more 50s. I actually really want to see more of her character explored. What was she like when she was alive? What exactly got her into hell? How did she meet Alistair? And does he actually own her soul? And finally, we have Sir Pinchus. Once an antagonist for our cast, but quickly became an ally and the best boy. Dying in the 1800s, he is shown to be an inventor, making war machines. He has a sort of Dr. Doofenshmirtz vibe about him, just a silly little guy failing at being a villain. Sir Pinchus is actually one of the only characters that stands out from the background. He has that black and yellow color scheme, using that hot pink as an accent color. That being said, he also has a lot going on in his design. Stripes, eyes all around his body for some reason. He also has a sentient hat that I got rid of because it doesn't add anything other than clutter to his design. I like the idea of details in characters' clothes reacting the same way as the character does, but with Sir Pinchus it's just really not needed, and isn't really done in a creative way. I played around with the idea of making his yellow red, funny enough, as if the show doesn't have enough of that color. It was really because I was tying his color scheme to pride, evil geniuses usually having a bit of an ego and whatnot. I got rid of the eyes around his body, changing them to be a more snake-like pattern. The eyes, in my opinion, are supposed to be tied to angels specifically, so it doesn't really make any sense for him to have them. For his outfit, I actually looked up inventors from the 1800s thinking they would dress differently. I guess I was imagining steampunk fashion because this era was just guys in suits and silly hats. I made the shape of his suit more accurate along with the undershirt and bow tie. And to further his design, I added some highlights to resemble snakeskin. And there we have it, 8 fully redesigned characters. This second set of designs took me forever to do. I'm kind of in the middle of changing my shading process and making it hard to match the first set. And I actually maybe might have already redesigned the V's. Let me know if you'd like to see that, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!